Welcome. I bid you welcome to the very first North and South Rock and Metal Connection episode of 2023. Johnny Metal, John Clauser here, the Metal Dad, is your host for this evening. Let's get the cast of characters up and going. We got Roger Serreras with the Suicidal from the Great White North. Happy New Year to you, brother.
You too, brother.
We got the brothers.
Run on the same calendar we do.
I think so.
Okay.
We got the brothers Carson, Ben, and Jason. Happy New Year, brothers.
Happy New Year.
And then we have the Taylor Swift loving JD Akins. Happy New Year, brother.
Happy New Year.
He was just showing us off. He was just showing something off to us before we started recording. And we may have to take his metal card away from him. But
absolutely,
we are here. We're a few days late on this, but we're here to talk some 2022. And we're going to talk some of our favorite releases from the year. So we're going to give you 5 releases. Might even have an honorable mention or two. I want to mention a few like compilations and reissues and things of that nature at the end. But we got some good stuff that I'm sure we are going to talk about, whether it's stuff we've already, could be some well-known stuff, could be some maybe not quite so well-known stuff. We'll see. So with that in mind, who do I want to start with today? Well, let's see. I introduced him last, so we'll do him first. JD, kick us off with number 5. Well, you're number 5.
You got this, bro. You got this. No Taylor Swift.
This was really hard because for once, every other video we've done has been, like before my time. So doing this one, I was actually like pretty involved with like releases that were coming out throughout the year. So so I had pre-saved a whole bunch of stuff, on through Apple Music, and so for once I was actually kind of like up to date with, so this was a little hard because there was a lot of really, really great albums that came out this year. A lot of new bands, with some remember some other bands come out and do like super kind of like a super group albums and stuff like that throughout the year. And so but to kick everything off, I'm going with it is the 16th studio album by they're thrash metal icons. So I'm going with The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead by Megadeth. Follow up to 2016's Dystopia, which that was, I think, the first album that actually. There you go. Yeah, I don't have a copy of that yet. But no, it's but yeah, like Bad was saying, Dystopia was the first album that I actually heard that was current at the time, and it kind of I really started listening to them at that point, like then basically just backtrack. So Dystopia was kind of my gateway.
Mm-hmm.
So I so waited 6 years for it, and of course there was the whole we had the whole pandemic for a good 2 for a while, so that did kind of sour, and then all the other crazy stuff that happened in the band with Chris Adler from Lamb of God. He was a session drummer, so he wasn't a full-on member, so they actually had to find an actual member. And then there was the whole issue with other Dave.
But we won't beat that, around that, you.
But so I was pretty excited for it and waited for it, and finally when we got the first track, the We'll Be Back, I was like, yeah, I was like, yeah, just yep, you guys are still there, still, like, to me, haven't lost it from Dystopia. But yeah, just I totally dig that album. Like the whole thing from start to finish is just kick-ass thrash music. Like it is I think it's their best work in a very long time, to me anyway. Yeah, because like just Kiko's guitar playing, for one, is wow. I don't know about I've never heard his the other band that he's in, but yeah, just great. I think he's a fantastic guitar player, and Dave Mustaine, just his vocals, he sounds way better on this one than he has in the last few, in my opinion. I guess maybe just taking the time off, and and I guess the whole him having the throat cancer thing, I guess that kind of maybe changed his singing style a little bit, but he still sounds like the Dave Mustaine that we all know and love. And but yeah, I just great all the way through. Some favorite tracks of mine are the opening title track, um, "Life in Hell," "Night Stalkers" with Ice-T. I didn't know how to feel about that at first because yeah, I mean, but this overall, I liked his little bit. It was really cool, and then of course, then there's the "We'll Be Back," which actually ends the album unless you've got the deluxe version with the bonus tracks and everything. But yeah, it just goes to show that you know that the old dad metal bands, it's like some people like to call them. No, they're still relevant, and they're still putting out some fantastic metal music, probably some of their best
Yep.
in years. And it's still just going to show that they can still go out and still bring it. And so yeah.
I think the thing for me with that album is what I would agree with. It's probably some of their best work they've done in a while. It's probably the one that stuck with me the longest. Like Dystopia and Endgame and Super Collider. Some of those albums didn't stick with me. After I listened to them, but this one did. There's a lot of good songs on it. So good pick there. Jason, let's get your number 5.
He got one. Yeah, I've got one. I went with our old friends out of Germany. I picked the Scorpions, "Rock Believer." Now, right off the bat, I'm going to set the premise that this is not going to be my favorite Scorpions record. To me, it's not on par with a Love at First Sting or anything like that, but it is a really, really good record. I mean, right off the bat, Gas in the Tank just knocks you to the floor. And the song "Rock Believer," the title track, is a very, very beautiful song. It had a lot of really good points to it. "Seventh Son," just that was an amazing song. "Call of the Wild." I'd say probably my favorite track off the record was probably the title track, "Rock Believer." But "Roots in My Boots" was a good one too. But all in all, it was a great record. But I mean, when you put it up against the classics like Love at First Sting and whatnot, it's not on that level, but it's close.
Yeah.
Very close.
Yeah, it was the first Scorpions album that I wanted to even care about over the last 30 years. Most of everything they've been putting out has been pretty subpar from what people tell me. So, but this was really good.
I like it was pretty good. I wouldn't say it was phenomenal, but it was a really top-notch, solid Scorpions record.
I agree. Good choice. Good stuff. Ben, what we got?
Okay, so full disclosure, I did not get a chance to listen to the entire album of this, but I heard enough of it to know. I got 3 songs into it and I'm like, this is incredible. This is awesome. And it is Striper's The Final Battle album. That is my number 5. Amazing artwork to start with. Really, their last 3 or 4 albums have had just incredible cover art. You know, but I was Transgressor is a brutally awesome song.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Sweet just gets right into it and has not missed a lick since, you know, In God We Trust or To Hell with the Devil or anything like that. It sounds exactly the same. Still sounds like a guy in his early 20s. It's crazy how that works, but and See No Evil, Hear No Evil was a really catchy song. I love the chorus on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I will definitely have much more description and thoughts on my forthcoming selections, but for right now, Striper's The Final Battle, definitely number 5 best rock metal album of 2022, in my opinion.
Yeah. Striper's just been putting out their last few albums.
They've been back to back
phenomenal.
to back.
I mean, man, No More Hell to Pay, then Fallen, you know, the GD Evil, you know, even The Devil Believes, and then this thing. Oh my goodness, it's just, and they're not. I mean, it's not lightweight stuff.
No, and they're touring on top of this, right?
And they're coming at you full blast. So it's great stuff. Yeah, no, it's I like it too. A very, very strong album. So, well, Raja, what do you got? Let's get some odd stuff in here. What did you got for number 5?
I have Machine Head of Kingdom and Ground.
Okay.
I
that
must
one.
say that last album they released was terrible.
Hmm.
Saint Anger level terrible. The lyrics
went there.
just made me want to hit my head off the wall. But this album they completely recovered, in my opinion. The lyrics are awesome. The music, is it music ship? I don't know. But the riffs are great. The solos are great. I don't know how a band can write such a bad album and such a great album. I listened to this for months after it came out at the gym. But yeah, some standout tracks for me were Unhollowed, Slaughter the Martyr, I Can't Speak. That's not a song, it's me saying I can't speak, but Become the Firestorm. It's just a quick thrash metal album.
Strong stuff. You know, I saw Machine Head back in Ozfest '97. That was really the kind of last time I kind of ventured in with them. And I remember that album that they were touring on, which, oh boy, I can't remember what all was on it. I think there was something about Scars. I think was this one of the songs. I can't remember. But anyway, I thought that was a good album. That's been like 25 years. But I'll have to check that one out. So good.
Man, the same
I
creep.
think that might have been the More Things Change,
Maybe that sounds familiar.
which that they created rap metal.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are they the band that sang Creep?
That was Radiohead.
Radiohead.
Oh.
Okay,
Yeah.
I get them confused.
Wrong head. So
They did do a cover of Message in the Bottle.
that would be interesting. All right.
What you got, Dad?
All right. So my picks are going to be a little off the beaten path. So I decided not to go with a lot of the same and usual stuff that you see on a lot of people's lists and probably will see on ours, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So I wanted to branch out and just kind of introduce some bands and stuff that I think if you really like certain types of metal, you'll probably dig these bands that I'm going to list off here. So my first one that I'm going to mention off is a fellow, he's an Australian guy, guitar player, and it's basically a one-man show. I believe his son plays a little bit of guitars and some keyboards and maybe a vocal here or there. But this is just a brutal album. So the band here is called Terraphobia. And this is their album is called Rise. Very brutal, thrashy, heavy stuff. Very guttural vocal kind of song, kind of material. Strong stuff. So the album kicks off with a song called Eshatan, which is just brutal, and it just barely stops. I mean, just this brutal song after another. Great guitar playing. Very I don't know if it's live drums or if it's a lot of programming with triggering, but whatever it is, it's amazing. It's very brutal stuff. This is just somebody that I love his sound. And I think other songs that I would recommend, maybe Preach That Hate is a good one. That was really strong. Drowning in Tears, Screams from Hell, that was another really strong one. So this was a good one. This one came out on Dark Storm Records. So Mick Jelinek, he used to play in a band called Mortification. He was in that for a short time. So that's how I know him. So that's the guy. But yeah, Mick Jelenek's Terraphobia. So JD, number 4, what you got?
All right. I'm pretty sure I don't know if any guys probably ever heard of this band that I'm about to mention, but I've been listening to them for maybe 3 or 4 years now. They've been around since like I think the mid 2000s, and just scrolling through YouTube a few years ago, I just clicking through, oh, you like this? Well, you might like this, and I heard one of their songs, and instantly I was hooked, and I've been following the band pretty much ever since. And since then, they've released 2 albums. They did one in 2020, which I have on vinyl and CD. And then the same with this album that came out earlier last year. And yeah, the band is called Dance Gavin Dance. So I don't know where, but the album is called Jackpot Juicer. They have some really like weird like artwork, but I kind of dig it.
Looks kind of fruity.
Yeah, it's very unique. I think they get the same. I think they use the same artist. He's been doing their all their album artwork. But yeah, they're I really don't know exactly how to really describe their sound. You look them up on Wikipedia and it says they're a rock band from Sacramento, but you look a little bit more and it says they're like post-hardcore, math rock, prog rock, kind of, and it's I don't know. The music is the music itself is kind of one of the reasons that that drew me into it, is because the main guitar player is named Will Swan. This guy just does the most beautiful and melodic things I've ever heard anybody do with the guitar. It's like how does somebody make these sounds? And and the second thing that got me hooked was their vocals. They have two vocalists in their band, which they've had like a lot of kind of different singers come and go, mainly just with because you've got the screaming kind of like aggressive vocal style. He's been there practically since day one, and his vocal style has changed throughout the albums. I think he sounds way better now than he did when they first started. But yeah, I don't know, he's got the most unique type of like scream singing that I've ever heard. Like, it's not just like the brutal, like, like guttural. His is like, I don't know. I can't really explain it. It's you just kind of have to hear it if you wanted to go down this route. It's and their other singer, the guy that does the screams, his name is John Mess, and then the clean vocals is His name's Tillian, and he's been with the band since I think 2013. And he got kicked out of the band for some stuff, but he apparently worked it all out, and he's back in there now. But his vocals are he soars with his like he'll go kind of like this, and then all of a sudden he's like way up here. It's like and it's and the screams and the singing when they sing together, the harmonies off of it. Like you would think it wouldn't sound good, but they've been doing this forever now, so they've perfected how it should sound. But yeah, they're just love it to death. Then everything that I've heard since I've been listening to them, I haven't gone back, and I've tried to listen to some of the earlier stuff with like I can't really get into it too much, but it's still got some good stuff. But they've never put out a bad album to me anyway. But yeah, and they lost their bass player like right before the album came out. So they lost him, and then there was allegations against the singer. So that kind of wrecked a lot of momentum they had going on tour. But some songs I really like. They have one called Synergy, which it was the first single they dropped, and that one, it sounds like what they've been putting out, what you're used to hearing by this band if you've been listening to them, but it has a little bit of a differentness to it too. Like you can tell it's them if you've heard them before. They have that sound, but they also kind of can change it up, but still have that sound into it, like in a way. And that's one of those songs that's like that. But it's just a band that they always kind of semi reinvent themselves in a way, but they always kind of have the same sound, like underneath. And yeah, it's brilliant music. Like I said, if you can get past the screaming style, because like I said, each song he kind of screams a little bit differently. It's not the exact same every time. He varies it, and I think it really shines on this particular album. But yeah, it's like I said, I've been a huge fan of the band for a few years, and every time I hear they put out a record of, they come out with new stuff, I bought this on both vinyl and CD, just like the last one. And I'm hoping that the whole situation with their singer doesn't, and then bringing him back in, I hope that really doesn't affect like how people look at the band.
Right. What'd you say the name of the band was again?
Dance Gavin Dance.
Okay.
They're on was it Rise Records, I believe. They mainly want to do like a lot like the emo metalcore type of bands. Yeah, that's them right there. Yeah.
All right. I'll check them out.
Yeah, they've got like I said, they've been around for a very long time. Like I said, I came in and started listening to them. Like I said, I think it was their 2018 album, and then I went back and listened to some of the earlier stuff. But I think from like their 2016 album to this latest one, they've nailed it every time. Like not a bad track on anything, not a bad album, and it's just melodic music, but just with two vocalists that have two different styles, but it blends so perfectly together.
All right. I'll have to check that one out.
I've been listening to them since 2007. Just want to
Oh,
there. I
Here you go.
know how bad their original singer was, why he's not in the band anymore.
I mean, yeah, I've looked it up. Yeah,
That guy. I've never heard such a voice, and he just completely fell off the face of the earth. He could have been a pop singer if he wanted to.
Yeah,
That's how good he was.
Yeah, he couldn't stay off the drugs. That was a lot.
That tends to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and they gave him a second chance too. Like they was like, okay, I'll let you back in, but he blew it again.
Yeah. Jason, what we got next?
I went to the land down under.
You stayed with me with my Terraphobia. All right.
While you
Yeah.
were down there with them, he found these guys.
I went with the October record Changes by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
I heard about these guys. Yeah, that's a great name.
I have listened to these guys as well.
Uh,
Clear your calendar.
this record was really, really great. They remind me very much of a pre-Dark Side of the Moon Pink Floyd. I'm talking a la Adam Hart Mother, Metal, that era of Pink Floyd.
Okay.
Very, very psychedelic. But they have moments where they go very thrash metal in the song as well.
They even do a hip hop album.
I mean, it's really unique, but that's what I like about it.
Yeah.
I mean, like some very where a lot of bands try to put a lot of stuff in, they're all about they're like early Pink Floyd, where it's all about that open space. Let it have time to breathe. Let it have space to breathe. And I really, really liked that. It's the whole album is really great, but to me the high point was actually the opening track, Change. I mean, it was 17 minutes long, super well paced. There wasn't a point where you would listen to it and be like, okay, when is this going to change? Just was you're about to get to that point, they did something different. The musicianship is really good. I like the way they pieced each individual section of the song together. It was something that I wasn't expecting from this day and age in music, where everything is, pretty much cookie cutter, factory assembly line music. This is something totally different. The next to the last song, Exploding Suns, that was another real high point of the record. It was I enjoyed it very, very much. It was a great album altogether. They released 5 records in 2022, and I've listened to 2 of them, and this one was my favorite, but the other one, which I'm not exactly 100% sure how to say the name, it's in Latin.
Oh,
but
can't help you there.
But it was a good one too. I think they gained a new fan. I'd never heard of them until I started scrolling the list of records released in 2022, and I come across them, and I was like, the first thing that caught me, of course, was the name. That sounds unique. Let's give this a listen.
Mm-hmm.
And I started listening to it, and I was like, this is really cool. And then I looked them up, found out more about the band, and
They are something else.
they really are. I enjoyed it very, very much.
Cool.
And I highly recommend it to somebody who is like me, who is a fan of early Pink Floyd.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Ben.
All right. So my number 4 is a little bit more assembly line cookie cutter. So I first started hearing of this band in 2009, our local rock radio station. Pretty into them at the time. Played their single, I Get Off, every hour or so. Then came their next single a few years later that hit mainstream, I Miss the Misery, and that, of course, is Hailstorm, fronted by the legendary Lzzy Hale. they have an album that came out in May called Back from the Dead, which was their Lizzie wrote this during the COVID lockdowns. So that's why it's called Back from the Dead. And the title track, Back from the Dead, is incredible.
Yeah,
Hard
I
hitting,
agree.
in your
It is.
face. I mean, this album is slap full of great material. It's got some deep stuff, some heartfelt stuff, her typical dirty girl lyric songs. There's one called I Come First, Strange Girl, Bombshell, her typical Lizzie Hale stuff, but there's also some really in your face, punchy metal songs, as well as two insane ballads on this record. The first one being Terrible Things. Awesome, talks about just reflecting on people in general and our naturally terrible choices we make in life. And the second one is Raise Your Horns, which is just her and a piano that absolutely lets the world know that Lizzie Hale is one of the best female vocalists living today. Not just in the metal genre, not in the pop genre. Living today, Lizzie Hale is one of the best vocalists in the world. And that is my number 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I've noticed with them, they have like a pattern of releases because you had the debut in 2009, the follow up in 2012, then 15, and then 18. Because I followed them from 2012 onwards,
Yeah.
and I think I bought the debut, I bought the 12 album, I bought the 2015, 2018. I can't remember if I did or not, but I noticed that it was like every 3 years we were getting a Hailstorm album. And then COVID happened, and it was like, well, there goes that. But then all of a sudden, it came out in 22. But it's like, so it's sort of like it almost was in that if we didn't have the COVID lockdowns, who knows? We might have would have got one in 2021, but it might not have been as hard hitting. Because if you listen to, I think it was the 2018 one. That one was the very like experimental kind of one to me, where it's like it was rock, but it was kind of more like you can tell that they were experimenting, and then they kind of got back to it with that follow up, but it was still kind of on the same loop. But but this one, they went back. She went back to like 2009. Like putting out like rock, like just straight up just rock songs.
Did you hear the duet she did with Lindsey Sterling called Shatter Me?
Yes.
That was
like
insane.
2014. That was amazing. That was amazing.
Insane.
Personally,
What about that new duet with?
Yeah, didn't she just do something with the separate ways?
Yeah, I hadn't heard it yet because I think it just came out like what?
No, I haven't heard it yet either.
Or today,
2 days ago. It's very good. Very.
My personal favorite one she did was it on the album. It's just her, and just for anybody who wants to know, this is mine and my wife's. This is our song. It's the Hailstorm song "Break In."
Oh yeah.
But they did a duet of it with Lizzie and Amy Lee doing it live on stage, and that was pretty epic.
Yeah, I think I've heard that one. That sounded really good.
Good stuff. Roger, what you got for number 4?
Now, for me, I am going to go to Sweden and talk about the band Ghost. This album, Imperia, sounds like something that should have been released in the 80s. Such an 80s arena rock album. Spill Away sounds like they ripped off Bon Jovi, if you listen to it. Watcher in the Sky, another classic 80s rock hit. Call Me Little Sunshine. The thing about them is every album is completely different theme. At the beginning, it was satanic, Merciful Fate style, and now they evolved, or some people would say sold out,
Indeed.
to arena rock, but there's nothing wrong with a little bit of mainstream music. I think Tobias is one creative fella.
For sure.
And you know, if Hetfield loves the band, gotta be good. He
There
is
was
good
a-
taste, other than him singing about being a table.
There was a myth going around at one time that Hetfield was one of the goons playing guitar.
Yeah, and that Dave Grohl was one of the drummers.
Oh no, that's not a myth. He did drum for them.
Dave Grohl a little bit more now.
And another fact, there's a band called Opeth.
Oh yeah.
Their guitarist played on Imperial, or Imperia.
hmm
And Tobias had to tell him to calm down because that guy can riff, and he was doing such ridiculous solos that it didn't fit the style of the music. It was funny when I heard that.
That's
All right.
Anyway,
I was wondering if we were going to get a ghost mention tonight. So there you go. Okay. So my next pick is again, this
Bet
is
you it's somebody we've never heard of.
probably right, but I will say you've probably heard of some of the people in this band. So this is the album cover. And this is a band called Kings of Mercia. So now Kings of Mercia. So now this is the band we got. You got Jim Matthews, leader, founder of Fates Warning, on guitars. You got Joey Vera, who also plays bass in Fates Warning and also Armored Saint, who killed it in Atlanta. I just got to say, Simon Phillips on drums, known from I believe Bad Company and a few other bands along that line. So you got a solid guy on drums, and a guy named Steve Overland from a band called FM, I believe. So Kings of Mercia. So this would be if Fates Warning was a mainstream, just a more of a mainstream, accessible kind of metal band instead of the prog metal style that we've come to know and love if you're a Fates Warning fan. There's some songs in here that have kind of some of the grooves kind of remind me of stuff that you would hear off of Carnival of Souls from Kiss, which is kind of, I know that seems kind of weird, but so you kind of have that mid 90s kind of feel too, but it just has a very straight ahead metal kind of sound. And Steve Overland's vocals are great. Highlights, the title, the first song, Wrecking Ball, is great. Too Far Gone is a great little ballad. Set the World on Fire, Sweet Revenge. There's a lot of really just very accessible, very catchy tunes. I'm a big Fates Warning fan, so I try to look for any kind of projects that any of those guys do. So whether they were past or present members, and this one definitely did not disappoint. So Kings of Mercia, this one came out on Metal Blade. Good stuff. I'm very impressed with it. So
How long have you been a subscriber to Metal Blade Records? They've been around years.
Yeah, they came out in 82. 82 was their first year. I was actually I started getting into Metal Blade when I first heard Slayer. Actually. So a buddy of mine, my friend Mike, he'd gotten a copy of Live Undead. And that was where I got introduced to Slayer. And then I picked up Hell Awaits, which of course is on Metal Blade. And that just became my favorite Slayer album pretty much. So I kind of fell in love with Metal Blade very, very early. In about 86-ish, I picked up a compilation of like a best of stuff from Metal Blade, and Fates Warning happened to be on it. Slayer's on it, Warlord is on it. A band's called Omen. Detente, Sentinel Beast, Flotsam and Jetsam with this guy on bass named Jason Newsted. So you had some really great stuff on that album, on this compilation. So that compilation album really just opened my mind to a lot of newer metal bands that, maybe hopefully you would hope would make the big time, but maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Some did, some didn't. But some of those songs still stick with me to this day. So I'm a big fan of that 80s Metal Blade, especially. Not so much after that, because I kind of got away from it. And then they just really branched out in all kinds of really crazy stuff. But there's some core bands from it that I still care about and really dig. So
I don't know how that Metallica band ever got big.
Yeah, no,
I
right?
don't know what happened to them.
well, maybe it was that Kill 'Em All for One tour that they did with Raven. So who knows? JD, what you got for number 3?
Taylor Swift.
No. But not to go what Metal Dad said. I did listen to the Kings of Mercia album, and I thought that one was I thought it was really good too. Really good, solid, and Metal Blade, they've been, they I think now they're really starting to really show, and they've really got some really good, just like the one I'm about to mention, A through Z. A to Z, A to Z, however you want to say. Yes, that, oh my gosh, that right there is whole, just
Yes.
so good. Just
I still haven't listened to it.
classic heavy metal music right there. That's
That
all that
is
is.
the perfect record.
Classic. And it's just, oh my gosh, yeah, it's like when you first brought it up to us in the chat, and I was like, okay, and I listened to I think they only had the 2 singles out at the time for it, the Trial by Fire and the Machine Gunner. I was blown away because I was like, you got wonderful, just kick-ass guitar playing, the drumming, like watching the music videos and seeing the way the drummer, like just the way he just how he uses the traditional grip on the drumstick. I'm like, you don't see people doing that. You don't see anybody doing that anymore.
Uh-uh.
And just to see like somebody just, I'm sitting as I'm watching the music videos, I'm just like, oh, just and it's funny because it looks like he's not doing anything, but he's doing everything. And it's like, how? It is wonder. And Ray Adler sounds, oh gosh, I that's my first time ever actually hearing him. Like
Mhm.
actually, hearing him, front, I know he's the Fates Warning singer and been there since what, 88,
80, yeah, 88.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's my first time actually, and I'm just like, this man sound, his voice, and it's like each song that he brings, like he brings a different like singing, like a way of singing to each song, and it's beautiful, it's wonderful. The guitar solos, just the guitar playing, the bass playing too is just, oh my, wonderful as well.
Filipino will
Just
love you for hearing that, for you saying that. So
it's wonderful. And like I said, everything, and one of my favorite songs though is the Machine Gunner. And to me,
yeah,
why I love that song so much is the keyboard solo going into the guitar solo. I love when a band that has a keyboard player, you can hear the keyboards, but like they trade back solos. I love hearing that. I guess, and thank you Dream Theater for showing me that, and then but yeah, it's just, oh, it was so wonderful. And it's just, and everything, it's just like each song is different, but it's cohesive.
Mhm.
And it's like you got like another song that I really love is Stranded. I love Stranded and At the Water's Edge. I
Mhm.
love those 2 songs. And it's just, like I said, it's what, 11 songs, including the bonus track.
Mhm. Yep.
All killer, all like from start. Like I would be when I used to work at Walmart, and I just have like a just kind of like a bad day. I pop in an earbud, and I just pull that album up, and I press play, and just for like 50 some odd minutes, I just got this beautiful music, and it made my mood so much better. I listened like every day at work for like a week straight. I did nothing, just like I just listen to that. I'd be sitting at home playing a video game, just pop my headphones on and just listen to that album. It was just so, and then when I came out, it's like my like 2022 replay of Apple Music. It was like I think the second or third album that was like top listen because I had listened to it it told me like 72 times, and I'm like that can't be right. And
Hmm.
I started thinking, well, I did listen to it a lot before the full album came out, so those listens added up. And I think like I looked down, it was at least somewhere up in like 60s or 70s, and I was like, there's no way I listened to this album like that many times.
It's
And I
that
was
good.
Yeah, it
yeah,
really
and
is.
it's only like what 4 or 5. It's not. It hasn't been out that long,
Mm-mm.
but just the fact that I played it like over
They
60 to
have a
70
single that came out during Thanksgiving weekend, but I haven't listened to it yet.
Oh,
But yeah, for those of you who are wondering who we're talking about, so yeah, Ray Adler is the vocalist from Fates Warning. He's been the vocalist since the No Exit album. Philip Bino is on bass. He has played with Steve Vai's band for a lot of years. He's been around playing bass for a long time. He also played in Warlord, which is where I would know Mark Zonder from, who is on drums. Of course, he also played in Fates Warning in the 90s as well. You have Jupe Walters on guitar and Vivian Lalu on keyboards. These guys just, I agree with everything JD said. It's just an amazing record.
yeah.
So there's
And
no
and Philip Bino was so happy when I saw him with Steve Vai and during the meet and greet part, and he saw me with a Warlord shirt on. And I was like, "Man, hey, did you check out that project I did with Mark?" And I'm like, you mean this?" Of course, I didn't. Dummy me, I forgot to get him to sign it when I had the chance. But he was just so happy that somebody acknowledged that album to him because he was really proud of that. So
Yeah,
so there's
I don't know. I'm hoping they do another one. I don't know if they will. I hope so because that was just so like just jaw dropping. Like I go back to it and just listen to it all the time now because it's just so good. Like I listened to it the other day just to prep
you
for
know,
this, and I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely making my like top. This is
I
making
I
my
hope
five.
I hope they do another one because I mean, Fates Warnings
I
it's
think
kind
they're
of up in the
done.
air. So Jim, you don't know if Jim Matthews is going to do any more Fates Warning stuff. So who knows? I would certainly be welcome to another A to Z. So
Mhm.
yeah, great stuff, man. Great stuff.
so there's no overlapping members between A to Z and Kings of Mercia. They're all from the same band. They just formed two different
Kind of, sort of, yeah. They're just, but no, they're not totally different projects.
Yeah,
So
they just so happen to be on the same level.
yeah, yep. Jason, what you got for number 3?
I went old school. I went with Saxon. Carpe Diem. That's it right there.
I forgot they came out with an album. And
And
I love
News and
Saxon.
Lears.
I didn't.
yeah.
It was a phenomenal record
Yes.
from beginning to end. Phenomenal. And for anybody who doesn't know and doesn't recognize how old Saxon is, I mean, they've been around forever. We know that.
Yep.
Biff is kind of like he's kind of like Bruce Dickinson. He has not lost anything in the vocals. Where so many vocalists from that era that they lose their voice, Biff hasn't. It's still just as strong and as perfect as ever. I mean, the whole record from beginning to end. Carpe Diem, The Pilgrimage, Dam Busters, Remember the Fallen, Lady in Gray, Living on the Limit, Black as the Night. It's all perfection. It's all wonderful. It's all power. It's all Saxon. Just, you gotta love it.
A mighty
was-
Saxon. Yep.
Yes. Phenomenal.
Yes.
I mean, it. In any other year, this would be number one. But so right now, it's got to be number three. And I hate that, but it was phenomenal. It really was.
Yes, I agree. Very
That's how I
smart.
felt. That's how I felt putting my list together. As I was, and I was like, this 2022 thing, it's easy. I can do this. I started going back and flipping through albums. I was like, oh, that's right. I forgot this came out, and I forgot this came out.
I should have maybe Googled the list. Oh, well. I completely forgot about. And it's funny too because I actually listened to
Yeah.
a couple songs.
That's one. I think I have it downloaded. I just hadn't had the time to
Yeah.
check it out yet. So I'll.
Well, Metal Dad, I got to know, what was your favorite song off of that?
Oh,
Of Carpe
boy.
Diem.
Oh boy. I mean, Carpe Diem for sure. I mean, I mean, talk about a fantastic album opener, really.
Yes.
Gosh. Pilgrimage was awesome. Dam Busters was awesome. I mean, it's like you said, the whole album's just a great album.
It was all killer, no filler.
Yes, I would completely agree with that.
All right.
I gotta give it up to Remember the Fallen. I think that was probably my favorite off of it. But I mean, it's up against some stiff competition because The Pilgrimage was a banger of a song too.
Yes. Good stuff. Good stuff. Ben.
All right. My number 3 is, I'm barely going to touch on it because somebody way more professionally experienced than me is going to go into full disclosure of this album later. But I'm going to say my number 3 is Sabaton's The War to End All Wars album. And all I'm going to talk about is the song Soldier of Heaven. It is the perfect metal 80s song, throwback, whatever you want to call it. It is the perfect song. That's it. They did a good job on it. I like the record. That song's probably the best song of all time in the history of forever. So carry on.
Rock and roll. And my wrestling buddy will love you for that because she's a big Sabaton fan. So cool. Roger. Numero tres.
Sorry, a little distracted. Some random person just texted me a bunch of baby pictures. I'm like, wrong number. Cute baby though.
Didn't look like you did it.
Oh, jeez. Anyway, this album would give Ben nightmares. They are called Lorna Shore, and the album is called Pain Remains. The drumming is just a kick in the teeth. The
It
vocals
will give
are
me
just
nightmares or it won't.
Oh,
It
it
will.
definitely would.
Oh, okay.
100%. And you would not understand a word they're saying. Not a bit. But the final 3 tracks are just listening to them during my first workout in like 2 months.
Nice.
I don't know what else to say other than what a great album. Random fact, there was actually a special on the vocalist because they wanted to find out how the hell he does the sounds he does. It's funny too. When I was younger, I used to make fun of my friend for listening to this type of music, and now I listen. I used to say the vocals sound like the Cookie Monster. Just a random tidbit about myself.
Nice.
Gotta love the Cookie Monster vocals. Okay. All
Settle
right.
down.
Lorna Shore.
What you
I'm gonna
got?
have to check that one out. Okay. All right. So my number 3 is I'm gonna go with another one of those little another one of those labels that they seem to like putting super groups together. And I'm talking about Frontiers music label. And so this band features this drummer named Tommy Aldridge, guitar player named Joel Hoekstra, which I'm probably butchered his name, bass player named Marco Mendoza, singer named Nathan James, and another guitar player slash singer named Michael Sweet. I'm talking about iconic Second Skin. This is good stuff. This is just a straight up strong metal record. You get a little bit of duet vocals with Michael Sweet in here, but mostly Nathan James from the band Inglorious. But you got Tommy Aldridge's powerful drumming. You got Joel Hoekstra's guitar playing along with Michael Sweet. You got some really Fast as You Can, Ready for Your Love, All I Need, Worlds Apart. This is another just banger strong album that Michael Sweet got to be a part of. Check them out. I don't know if this is going to be an ongoing thing. Who knows? It may or may not be, but this album was pretty stellar. So iconic Second Skin. JD, numero dos.
All right. Now we're getting into the ones that got a lot of heavy got a lot of a lot of heavy rotations on the earbuds at work. It's the 11th studio album by this Swedish melodic death metal band. Funny enough, I've only heard their last 3 albums all the way through because their last 3 albums have been with their latest vocalist. The album is Deceivers by Arch Enemy.
Okay. Yeah.
Roger's probably heard of them before.
Yes, I have.
With the type of
I've
music
played
he loves.
Handshake in Hell a lot of times.
Oh, yeah. I've listened that like I said, that album's been in heavy rotation, and I know they've like I said they've got several other records before the 3 that the last 3, and I've tried. I really have tried. I something about Angela's the last singer. I don't know, something about her vocals. Just I can't do it. I've tried. It doesn't. I guess I don't know. Some people we hear things differently. It doesn't work for me. But Alyssa's.
The problem is you tried. There is no try. Do or do not.
I mean, that's true. But yeah, I've 3 albums with her fronting the band. The first, first one, I think, the first record that she was in, I thought was pretty solid. The second one, like I said, there was a lot of kind of hype around it. It's the second album that she's doing with the band. I like that one, but it kind of hit or miss with a few tracks. This one, I think with her, I think she's fine. I think they finally found like the right set of song, like the right like kind of sounds in the right song. I mean, it still sounds like the band, like guitar wise, because he still got what's his name, Michael Ammett. I think he's been there probably since as far as I think I know. I think he's been there since I think maybe day one. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't really looked too much into the past. But yeah, they you got the dual guitars of Michael Ammett and Jeff Loomis.
Thank you for mentioning
Yeah.
him. I would
Yes.
like to state that Loomis is kind of buried in that band because Loomis is incredible,
Yeah,
and Nevermore was stupidly underrated.
yeah. I think his because the last album in 2017, that was the first album he was in. You could not hear him at all. But I think on this one, I
Mhm.
think Michael actually kind of finally was like, okay, I need to let him kind of come through, and you can hear it a lot more. To me, it sounds like you can hear a lot more of like them actually playing and dueling it together than it did the last album. It sounds you can it's more melodic sounding to me. I think that's why I like this album a lot more. Is a lot of it is the melodic guitars
So
and then of course then you've got a female doing the most like insane like vocal style that you can do. A female doing death growls, and it sounds like to me it's amazing. I love hearing it. I keep thinking it's like I want to see more women like in bands like this. Like I want and it's just great music. I think it's a like I said it was an album that I have waited on since the 2017 release. It's like I said, it's like the whole Megadeth thing. It's like I've been waiting to hear Word, and it's like I start to hear a little bit of something, and then nothing, and then a little something, and then of course COVID happened, and it kind of shut it, and so there was a for a while, just it sucked, like not really getting, I mean, you would get some stuff, but it just, but I think that album is some to me, like out of the three albums that I've heard by them, I think it's got their best set of material. And some songs that I really like is it starts out with Handshake with Hell, and it just as soon as it gets going, it hits you. The guitars come in, and then Alyssa just comes in with this just growl and just punches it in. And then from a band that's mainly just been pure just growls, they let her do clean vocals for this one track. And it sounds, it's she has a beautiful like clean melodic voice because she was in a band first called The Agonist, and she did three albums with them, and then she got ousted, and then she got replaced by another singer who she's really good. She's been fronting the band ever since, and they've put out some really good stuff with her. But yeah, she's just, and it's like I kind of want to hear. I really wish they would have did that just a little bit more to maybe experiment a little bit more with clean vocals, but maybe with the fact that it's Michael's band, he's going to have say over everything. But yeah, that song, The Watcher, I think it's like track 4 on the album called The Watcher, has one of the most melodic sounding solos. Like I love the guitar during the chorus of it. It's just like the vocals and it's like they're parallel, like like it just works out so well. And that with that band, that's the band that's really kind of that kick started me kind of looking more into like the extreme side, like going in looking in some more death metal, but I've been more of a melodic death metal than anything. But yeah, I think like I said, that album wound up getting played at least a good maybe 50 to 60 times probably according to the stats. So yeah.
Good stuff. Good band. Jason, numero dos.
I can't really say anything about this record because he's already said everything about it. My number 2 was Back from the Dead by Hailstorm.
it's a great song, great album.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea he was going to throw it on his list, but yeah.
Raise the Horns was the most incredible. In case y'all didn't hear me, 15, 20 minutes ago, Raise the Horns probably sets the bar that Lzzy Hale is the greatest female vocalist living today.
It was a phenomenal song. It really was.
Yeah, and then they recently did like a deluxe version of it too with a bunch of bonus tracks too that had the same album cover, but it was like I have
There's
not
a
heard the
gray
bonus
cover
tracks
and a
yet.
red cover.
Yeah,
The
the
re- the
red
red-
cover was the original, then the gray
No,
cover
the red
is the
cover.
deluxe.
Well, I don't know. The one on Apple Music is the red cover, and it was the deluxe edition that I was listening to.
Oh, well, I don't know.
But yeah, it was a phenomenal record. I mean,
I would like to interrupt this to say JD's right. The red cover is the original, and the gray is. See, just luck. Let's see if I can. See.
Oh, okay. Remastered deluxe. Okay.
I listen to some calm stuff. I just want to throw that out there.
That's calm. Oh, for you, that's calm, I guess.
Yeah,
yeah, but it was a phenomenal record, regardless of how you want to look at it. It was
Yeah.
I mean, it all the way through, absolutely
Okay.
100% phenomenal. I mean, I've been listening to them for a long time now, and have not been disappointed by anything they've done. Yeah, great record.
That's right.
Yeah. I really need to invest in some Hailstorm. That's somebody I've just never really taken time to listen to for some reason. So
You
I got some
should. I mean,
catching up to do.
I would
They're
like
from
to.
Pennsylvania.
This is true. This is
I would like to say I never was into female singers, rock singers, until I listened to a couple tracks off that album. And it kind of changed my opinion. I don't know why I never was into like female rock or metal singers. It's just a weird quirk I have.
Back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, it was trending hard for hard rock acts to have a female front. There was My Pretty Reckless. They tried to
Oh,
get
yeah.
rolling, and they had a little bit of mainstream success, but they never blew up. They came out about the same time Hailstorm did, and they never really got any traction. But
Hailstorm
his-
had been going for 10 years before that.
yeah,
I mean, that's true. Yeah, and it's funny to think the front woman of the Pretty Reckless is Cindy Lou Who from the How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That is absolutely. That's just like, oh my gosh.
she's on that show Two Broke Girls, isn't she?
I don't know about the two broke girls.
Yeah,
but,
but no, it was just funny because like I remember like when
Wow.
when the Pretty Reckless was trying to come, I was like, wait, why does she look so familiar to me? And then I like Googled her, and so I was like, who is she? And she looks me, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's Cindy Lou Who.
But the thing about the thing that's different about the Pretty Reckless is Taylor Momsen pushes her sexuality quite a bit, especially on those album covers.
Yeah.
She don't leave a whole lot to the imagination.
I mean, that's true as well.
But they are a pretty good they are a solid band though.
Yeah,
I'll give them
got
that.
some good stuff. They do got some really good.
Taylor
they got some
did a song for Jake on Red Dragon Cartel's first album, and it is just wickedly good. But before I get into my number two, I just wanted to say y'all were talking about Jeff Loomis a while ago, and I wanted to throw an odd tidbit of useless information. Aside from him being probably one of the most technically gifted shredders on planet Earth, he is also, if I'm not mistaken, the first Schecter guitar player to be offered a signature 7-string guitar model. He was the first 7-string signature guitar of Schecter guitars before he switched over to Jackson a couple years ago.
Oh,
Well, there you go.
I know
Yeah.
that.
But my number two, JD's already hit it, is the A to Z record. Probably the greatest, the perfect rock and roll album of all time.
Apparently not, if it's only your number two.
Well, there's kings that need to remain on their throne. But or princes, I should say, that need to remain on their throne. But if Rise Again doesn't hit you in every emotion possible and make you feel like you can climb the highest mountain, or make it move, as Miley would say, you know. Something's right. It's Rise Again is probably it's an amazing song, powerful song, strong song. Machine Gunner, great song. Can't go wrong with that record. When it dropped, I know I listened to it 4 times that day.
Yeah. Yeah, solid album. Solid album. All right. I'm glad to see that one's getting some good love. So that's awesome.
Next time you see those band members, Dad, please tell them we love it. Okay?
Yes.
Tell them we love them. We want them to make more.
I can certainly share this in some groups where I know those guys are a part of it. So
AZ2.
Yes.
Yeah. Or AZ squared, like a little two, like a little squared.
There you go.
A to Z squared.
There you go. That's perfect. All right. Roger, what we got for number 2?
Wow, another JD pick earlier in the show. Megadeth, The Sick, The Dying, and The Dead. I'm not gonna say everything JD just said about 30 minutes ago, because literally it was pretty much everything I was gonna say, but I am gonna say I think it's their best album since Rust in Peace, which is my favorite album by them.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
Rust in Peace is my favorite as well.
It's about time Dave finally found his speed, and maybe it was the cancer that made him want to go back to his old style. I must say, one of my favorite tracks, though, is Dogs of Chernobyl.
Ooh.
That's a great track. And he said on the Joe Rogan podcast that he actually did research on the lyrics and the theme of radiation poisoning. So
Yeah,
supposedly it's pretty accurate. And then he sounded shocked when he said no one else really does research on their lyrics, which I thought was a cool little tidbit right there.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of Timbits, he wants to get back with James Hetfield for some reason. That would
I've been hearing that.
That would be
I've
pretty
been
cool.
hearing-
I think that would be a sign of the end of the world. So just want to throw that out there.
You guys
Well, so-
remember when Warrior and Vince finally made up and got Warrior back on TV, right? What happened the day later?
Yeah.
Exactly
True.
my point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that is true.
Well, think about this though. When you there's a couple things I picked up on when I was listening to this album. So in the song Celebutante, I think there's a part in that song where they do this little breakdown, and it kind of has this and I'm like, where have I heard that before?
Yeah.
And I think even in Mission to Mars, there's like a little bit of piece in there. Kind of sounds like something out of One, which I thought was also kind of interesting.
Well, that's okay. Metallica stole stuff off of One.
Sure.
Anyway.
So why not?
Yeah.
But it just was something that I always thought was very interesting. To hear, I was like, yeah, I think it's the first time I think in Megadeth's music that I'd ever heard something like, whoa, that's really noticeable. But anyway, it's a great album. I highly loved it when it came out, and I was somebody had me on a show to talk about the album. So yeah, it was a great album. So
It's funny to think it's like I went to before to go out. I listened to when Dave was on he was on Chris Jericho's podcast, Talking Jericho, and they were talking about the album, and just to hear Dave kind of break down some of these songs, because yeah, I mean, it sounds like like this, like you got the song Killing Time, like he actually explains like, it's all about a bad relationship. It's like you're killing my time. It's like, you don't want to be, then you're killing my time, and it's crazy to think that it's like, here's a guy that went to like basically writing songs. It's like, I hate Metallica. They screwed me over and stuff like that. So now him to actually, kind of actually writes with a little bit more meaning and more like kind of like you can see like his lyrics have progressed
Mhm.
instead of just being like the typical thrash, like like you got a song like Dogs of Chernobyl, that's got like a meaning to it. It's there's a and it's great to actually know that he's actually now, I think he's I think that's what it is. I think him having the cancer is what kind of made him realize, okay, yeah, I've I've said some stuff. I need to, maybe this is karma coming back to bite me on the
Oh,
rear end here.
he still bitches about Metallica.
Oh
Of
yeah.
course he does. Of course
Every
And a lot
single
of
he's
time there's
going
an
to.
album.
It wouldn't be Dave Mustaine if he didn't.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, and honestly, I really do think that this is why Metallica's dropping 72 seats, and they're like, "Well, Dave did it. Time to put Dave." Lars is like, "All right, guys, let's put Dave back in his place again. Let's have another number one selling charting Billboard album just to piss Dave off again."
And I kind of
No.
dug Lexington Turner.
I thought it sounded like old British metal.
Well,
It sounded like Diamond
Oh,
Head.
yeah. I saw them. I watched them a live video of it when they on YouTube, and James just still sounds amazing. And I'm just like, this man is just still going out there and just
well,
I thought
we
I
need
thought
to
Dave and
protect
Het
James
made up.
Hetfield as much as possible.
I thought Dave and Het made up in like 2014 when they had the Big Four reunion tour.
They did, but he's still kind of, yeah.
better.
Yeah.
I would
Well-
be too.
Yeah. Well, if for you talk about the old school stuff, I mean, I was thinking about mentioning this a little bit later, but this was the concert where it was like for Johnny and Marcia Zazula, who's
Yeah.
from Megaforce Records, who signed them, Metallica originally. So this was like the concert for them that they did. So not to sidetrack us, but I don't know if you guys have heard about this show.
I did.
They
I
played
have.
So
Songs
here's
for the
here's
perfect
here's the set list: Creeping Death, Ride the Lightning, Motor Breath, No Remorse, Trapped Under Ice, Call of the Cthulhu, Phantom Lord, Am I Evil, Metal Militia, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Whiplash, Fade to Black, Seek and Destroy, Fight Fire with Fire, Blitzkrieg, Hit the Lights.
It's all the first two albums.
You tell
I would
me
just like to say
diehard
this.
Metallica fan from the old school days wouldn't have killed to have been at that show.
Yeah, I would. And I would like to say,
and the even cooler part was, and they don't have their CD out, Raven opened up because they asked Raven to
true.
open up for that.
That's true.
And
they
I
did.
had I had just seen Raven 2 days earlier, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. But man, anyway, I didn't mean to sidetrack us, but yeah.
you know what I find hilarious? If Dave Mustaine ever watched this, he would cringe because we went from Megadeth to Metallica. And then
That's
just
true.
feed
Of course.
into his bitterness.
So
Sorry,
with,
Dave. Sorry,
so
Dave.
with that in mind, let me get into my number 2 here. So this band is not going to be somebody you probably heard of.
Really?
So this band is a little bit of a super group again. Features three former members of the Christian thrash band Tourniquet. This features former singer Guy Ritter, former guitar player Gary Lenare, and another former guitar player named Eric Mendez. All played in the band Tourniquet over time. The bass player for this band is Anna Centina, and the drummer is David Husvik from the band Extol. Also has done some other things. An amazing drummer in itself. This band's called Flood, and an album called Polarized. For anybody who loves old school Tourniquet, you will love this album. This is amazing. This is such a good album. This features a couple of pieces of instrumentals with us, like some classical stuff where they do some kind of riffing on, and it's really sounds melodic. It sounds really good. It doesn't sound noisy, say like a Great Cat when she does some of the stuff that she does. It's not that crazy fast, but I mean, this is a really strong album. Design, great song, War in the Sky, Polarized, In Remission, My Last Ride, and of course, a cover of the old Tourniquet song, Stop the Bleeding. Man, this came out very early 2022. Great album. Great album for anybody. Like I said, for any old school Tourniquet fan, I highly recommend checking this one out. So, which means we are down to our number one.
One.
JD.
It better not be my pick, bro.
Better not be mine either.
It won't be mine.
JD, I swear.
Something tells me I know what he's going to pick.
We know
All right.
it won't be John's pick.
Probably won't be, no.
Just
All
pick
right.
Taylor Swift and tell them how you have 4 vinyls of it. He's doing it. Look,
It's going to be Taylor Swift.
it's okay. It's okay.
We'll
It's
give
not
you a pass on
Nickelback,
this one,
so
bro.
whatever. I
right.
won't have to leave.
Number one. Say they're
Swift.
a pop punk band from Australia. I discovered them, the way that I used to discover music through YouTube back a couple years ago. Been following them pretty much ever since. I bought their last record that they released in 2020. So they were kind of quick to put out a follow-up. Of course, it was written, during the lockdown. So, it's kind of kind of aggressive kind of sounding because it's pop punk. So what do you expect? The band is called Stand Atlantic, and the album is called Fear, or it's actually an acronym, FEAR, which stands for Everything and Run. Yeah, I've listened to that album, according to Apple Music, at least 162 times.
Okay.
That's what it told me. I mean, it's 36 minutes, so what do you expect? You can get through it in you blink and it's over kind of thing. All the songs, I think most of the songs were barely under 3 minutes, but then, pop punk, they're fronted by a female. Yep, that's Stand Atlantic right there. Yep.
Can't really see it too well.
They've been around for, I think, they've been around for sometimes since maybe the mid 2010s, I think, to 2012, 2013, something like that. They finally put out their debut in 2017, 18, and then
2018.
2018, yeah.
Skinny
And
dipping.
I caught them right after they had released that one on, like I said, just scrolling through YouTube like I use, like one does to find music. Because this is back, this is pre Sea of Tranquility days. So that was how I just, scrolling through, and yeah, I fell in love with them instantly. They've, it's I've been a huge fan of the pop punk music scene since my teenage years. I mean, Ben knows that. Ben was
All of
there
that
with me.
Fallout Boy.
Fallout Boy and
All
Panic
of
at
that
the
Fallout
Disco
Boy.
and Paramore, which Paramore is finally dropping an album. I'm getting to see them in
Wiley's.
concert, so finally getting
Well,
to see Paramore. But
Well, JD, have you ever heard of this band?
no,
You just can't get rid of that record, can you, John? You tried to
No.
use all of us.
If again, pop punk, Australian pop punk, check them out.
I guess I've heard it the most. Like I said, I'm a huge, and it's pop punk and it's fronted by a female. That's like that shit. ticks all personal boxes for me because, like I said, it goes back to my teenage years of discovering Paramore and
Mhm.
Hayley Williams and just being like, wow, I love women in music. And, and it's when you if you listen to, like, you go from the first album, it's, standard, like your standard kind of pop punk, like it's got like more like an alternative sound, an alternative rock sound. And their second album was a little, they experimented a little bit, but then they got to this one and they just basically just threw everything, like just threw everything at it. It was just like there's legit elements of like hip hop music, there's trap beats on it, there's it's it's they're highly experimental, but it works because I don't know how to explain it. It just, to me, it works and I love it. And like it's, so how long is this? I wrote down how long it is. It's only like 36 minutes. So it's, you hit track one and then, like I said, you blink and boom, you're done. It's pretty, it starts and it never lets up. Like it keeps, like, it's like one track ends, like, all right, where we're going. Oh, okay. You like that one? Well, it's like, how we sound in this song. Well, this one's not going to sound the same as this one. So like each song is like varied, but but they've figured out like how to do it, and and to make it sound good as well. Like I said, it's like they're experimental, and it's just I love all 36 minutes of it. As soon as it gets started, for the very final track, which is literally just 40 seconds of like a studio take of them just talking about just, I'm thinking they're in the studio, like tinkering like sound bits. I'm guessing like putting the album together, and you can just hear like the band just giggling and laughing and everything. And she's like, I'm working with the take bar here, guys. I'm trying to, I'm working, and it's just like you can just hear that a band just sounds like they're just having just a fun time. And it's only like 40 seconds, but but the 1 to 13 or 1 to 12, like I said, it's just straight up, just in your face, just, like experimental pop punk music. And I love it. And when we did this, like, when the idea was presented, I was like, well, it's definitely going to make my list, but where would it go? And I started thinking, I was like, well, you listen to it the most, and you feel, it's the one that you listen to the most. So it must be your favorite. If you, according to Apple Music, you listen to it 162 times. So
That's
yeah,
how I did my list.
yeah, I
listened
went by
to the
with
most.
ones I listened to the most. Well, I mean, there was another one that was highly in the mix, but
I'll have to ask my buddy.
I got banned. You guys banned me for that one. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. It's Midnights by Taylor Swift. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it.
I'll have to ask my buddy Peter Kerr from Rock Daydream Nation about Stand Atlantic, because he's Australian, so and so he might know about those guys.
Yeah, they're on. I think it's UNFD. I think it's the record label they're on.
But
they've
yeah,
got a lot. They've got a lot of like bands that on their label. That's that kind of. And it varies too. It's not that they don't just do the pop punk music. They've got that, and they've got other.
Yeah.
They've like metalcore. They've got a couple metalcore bands on there. So it's kind of cool. It's an up and coming, like, newer label. So I usually kind of look forward to hearing about bands from that label, like the whole Metal Blade. Like I hear Metal Blade. I'm that way about that record label.
Good stuff. All right, Jason, what we got for your number one?
Everybody knows what my number one's going to be.
I just said it. It's Taylor Swift. It's Midnights by Taylor Swift. I just said
it. You could not be more wrong if you tried.
If it's Nickelback, I'm leaving.
You're wrong too.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Oh, so I want to restart my entire list. All 5 is all the new Nickelback album.
Oh boy.
My number one. My number one is the the follow-up to 2019's The Great War. It is 2022's The War to End All Wars by Sabaton. It is without a doubt the greatest album released in 2022. It hit it ticked every box for me. I mean, yeah, it's Sabaton doing what they do, and they're doing it better than they've ever done it before. And every album has been phenomenal.
Mhm.
I mean, I've listened to them. I've only gotten into them in the past 3 or 4 years, but I've gotten so far into them that I've deep dived all the way back to their first album.
Yeah.
When before they got into doing the history, when it was just they were just a metal band. And I mean, this album is phenomenal. I mean, the opening track, Stormtroopers, bam, hits you right in the face. Dreadnought, oh, such a good song. And then, as Ben pointed out, Soldier of Heaven, it is a perfect 80s arena rock song.
Cool.
Hellfighters, Race to the Sea. My personal favorite on there is the only ballad on the record. It's the song about the Christmas truce of 1914. And it is an absolutely gut-wrenchingly beautiful song. Joachim is just, his vocals lend so well to that style of ballad, because it opens up with him playing an inversion of Carol of the Bells on the piano, and it's just him singing. Oh, it's so good. And then it just builds to this beautiful chorus. But the whole album is phenomenal. The last track, Versailles, pays homage to the end of the war. You know, it's as perfect a record as I can think of. I mean, I haven't listened to the A to Z record yet. All of y'all are saying that it is the perfect record. Well, I haven't listened to that, so this is my perfect record.
Nothing wrong with that.
But I will listen to the A to Z record probably sometime tomorrow, since I've heard everybody talk so highly of it.
I think I'm gonna listen to that in the spring because it was nice and relaxing. Anyway, sorry for interrupting.
But yeah, this is my number one. I mean, it's no secret that Sabaton has become easily one of my top 3 favorite bands of all time.
Yep.
I haven't heard a bad song from them. So yeah, I mean, and I've listened to every record, one track at a time from beginning to end, and I haven't heard a bad song yet. So
good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Ben, what you got for number 1?
All right. So my number 1 has been on multiple of these lists that we've done through the decades. Just imagine, if you would, a record that featured Mike McCready from Pearl Jam playing guitar, Tony Iommi playing guitar, Jeff Beck playing guitar, and Zakk Wylde playing guitar. You don't have to imagine it, because it's real, baby. Ozzy Osbourne's Patient Number 9. That is my number 1 right there. That is Ozzy's swan song, really. That is, I don't know if it's going to be his last album or not.
I think it will be.
I know his health is pretty poor. He stopped touring, but he's having a ton of fun in the studio. I thought his last album, Ordinary Man, with the single Ordinary Man with Elton John, was an
That was
amazing
good.
song. That was like, wow, I didn't know Ozzy had that in him still. And then he comes out with this record on top of that. It is crazy good. I never would have thought Eric Clapton and Ozzy would have a collaboration that would knock it out of the park the way it did.
That's
I
a
mean,
good
those-
song. That's probably one of the better songs on the album too.
Yeah,
I agree.
just running through the tracks here. Parasite with Zach Wild, that just it sounded so much like an old Ozzy song with Zach in it, like from his Down to Earth record in 2001.
Mhm.
There's a lot of feel in this album that reminds me of that album. The production value, the tones, everything. Evil Shuffle, the ballad God Only Knows. I mean, there's just so much good stuff on this record. I can't speak, I can't speak highly enough of it. So if you get a chance, if you haven't already, 2022, my number one pick, Patient Number 9 by Ozzy Osbourne.
And I would like to say the solo in No Escape from Now is probably one of the greatest solos Tony has ever written.
Yeah.
That solo is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. The guitar playing on this record alone will give you chills, man.
Yeah.
It is just some of the greatest out there.
I liked this album a lot more than I liked Ordinary Man.
Me too.
I couldn't get it. I just couldn't get through Ordinary Man at all.
Yeah.
I
album-
struggled. I struggled.
Yeah.
I
That
think
album
he
had some
knew-
issues. He had his producer playing guitar, some young kid who's more like a hip hop metal kind of player or something.
You are
Yeah.
right.
He
He
is a guitar
produces
player.
for Post
What happened?
Malone.
Yeah, I just didn't like the whole sound of the album. I mean, not just lyrically, but just the way it was produced and the way it sounds. Something
My
just
favorite part.
like,
My
but
favorite part was that Chad Smith and the Chili Peppers played the drums on that album. That was
That's
the only
true.
thing I really liked about it.
And,
Was
Yeah.
and Slash did that one song with him, but the rest of
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
Post Malone's
did
guitar player.
didn't also Chad Smith and the Chili Peppers drum on this one too? So I think he did.
Yes, he did. You are correct.
Yeah. Wow, that man was busy doing 2 Chili Pepper albums this year and an Ozzy record.
Yeah.
That is true. He was busy. Some people don't sleep, I swear.
Mike Portnoy, looking at you, bud.
But
I was thinking of Dave from Slayer. He's in like 6 bands right now.
True, yeah, that's true.
but this album is a big step in the right direction from the Ordinary Man record.
mhm. I would agree.
I think he knew that was kind of a flop, so he didn't want his last album to be that.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't think
Makes sense.
Ozzy's gonna be around for much longer.
I don't think so.
No.
Come on, y'all. Come on. We're not at the end of the world. All that's going to be left is Keith Richards and Ozzy Osbourne.
Maybe.
Yeah. Roger, what you got for number one?
Well, in the chat, I said there was going to be something I cannot pronounce. So I am going to butcher this. It is called Aberraki, and the album is called Rashomon. See? Look at that. I cannot
Oh, yeah.
pronounce any
Yeah,
of
I
that
know,
crazy
I
stuff.
know which one you're talking about.
This is a black metal album, but
Yeah.
it does not fit the usual black metal rules, we'll say.
Yeah.
Some
it
of the
does not.
stuff, it's like it doesn't make any sense, but it works for the album. Literally, the last song sounds like a Disney song. Like, I was like, what the heck is this? But I love it. And they have a couple guests, like Urgal, singer from Behemoth,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
the singer from My Chemical Romance does screams for
That's
an
right.
entire song.
That's right.
Knew he could do that, but I love the whole like it's just like it's a blackout. I can't even explain what it is. It's like a heavy album, but it doesn't have any genre to it. But they just throw it in the black metal genre because all the musicians love black metal. I don't know. But I
Yeah.
love this. I love everything Matt Heafy does.
Oh, same.
And I gonna butcher this name too. Inisha, I don't know, Emperor Singer, and that is probably the one of the pioneers of the black metal. He was in a band called Emperor, which I've been listening to for many years, which would definitely, 100% give Ben nightmares. I think Ben would never sleep again if you listen to that.
I tried to
And
listen to
some
Ghost.
songs on this album too, he probably would just never, ever.
We should throw him some old school stuff like Hellhammer or old Venom or
Oh
Batman
yeah,
or
for
something
sure.
like that.
Oh yeah.
You know, I made it about 8 minutes into Ghost's 2022 record, and I was done for. You know, the music sounded great, but the lyrics, you know, was like, I can't. I just can't make myself cross those lines. You know.
That album's just about the Black Death. That's about it. The Plague. It would have been perfect if it came out like now. After all that.
Makes sense.
Anyway.
I do think that the Imperial by Ghost was. I've heard that one a few times. I was like, okay, I'm now officially on the Ghost bandwagon. I started and then I kind of went back and I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, nope, I'm doing this. I'm gonna, and I was like, all right. So now I've got to go back and, revisit the back catalog so that way I can fully hear the, yeah.
I mean, the first time I listened to Slayer, it gave me nightmares, and that was years ago. And you know, I stayed away, stayed away from it for a long time. Yeah, I stayed away from it for a long time, and then in the past, 5 or 6 years, I've been kind of like easing my way into it, and now I really enjoy it. I mean, personally from the albums that I have listened to, and I haven't listened to them all, but I've listened to 5 or 6 of the records, and to me the best one is God Hates Us All. The musicianship on it, the solos, I mean, just all of it worked the best on that record. I mean,
how ironic that came out on 9/11.
Exactly. I was just about to say that.
That's the album I listened to scare away Jehovah Witnesses.
Nah, hell
I played Disciple once, and then they never returned, ever.
Hell Awaits would have been the song you could have done with that, but
all right.
What? But anyway, just to wrap my little spiel up, if you ever want to listen to heavy music, I think this is the album to do it.
Okay.
Because there's actual clean vocals. And I cannot come up with a black metal album that has, modern day black metal album that has clean vocals in it. Hey.
Good stuff. Okay. All right. So before I list off my number one, I want to throw just a few things out that I came across and I really enjoyed. These would be more like reissues or compilations, things of that nature. So this one's going to be the first one I do. This is called A Crack in the Sky. This is a tribute to William J. Samus. He was the guitar player, main songwriter for the band Warlord, which of course Mark Zonder from A to Z was a part of. And that's where he got his start. and this is a tribute album to Bill Samus and Warlord. So this is mostly there's a number of, I mean, not that Warlord had a lot of albums out; they only did 3 albums. So a lot of this is just stuff from just little known bands just doing Warlord songs. So very cool album. This came out on a record label called Pitch Black Records. I believe it's out of Greece or somewhere Europe area. I mentioned this I mentioned this off air, but if for those who haven't gotten this, with the Beast from Hammersmith on the 3 album set with this guy, both mammoth albums. Of course, this version takes Gangland out and puts Total Eclipse in it instead. The intended
Yeah, that's right. I need to get my hands on that one.
Yeah. Very, Beast from Hammersmith is just amazing to listen to anyway. We've talked a lot about Metal Blade tonight. 40th anniversary of Metal Massacre 1. Yeah, let's listen. Let's just kind of throw some of these bands out. Steeler, Cold Day in Hell from, Ron Keel would go on to do his own band called Keel. Let's see. You have Malice. Rat. Rat's actually on this with the song Tell the World from the old EP. Black and Blue. They were the band that gave us Tommy Thayer, who is now in Kiss. Kirthungal, classic band, great solid band there. Pandemonium, kind of a hard rocking band out of Alaska. They were really good. And again, I don't know if you can see this. Metallica, Hit the Lights.
I don't think I've ever heard them before.
Yeah.
And I would like to say, I will never get bored of you talking about that album. I think that's been like
I talk a lot about Metal Massacre.
Yeah.
But and then, of course, other reissues that came out that I would be remiss if I didn't mention. Of course, Quiet Riot 1, Quiet Riot 2 with Randy on them. You can get them from No Remorse Records from Greece. These super deluxe box sets, though, I believe are all sold out. So good luck finding those. Nothing. It's not a metal album, but Tubular Bells. I don't know if anybody knows Tubular Bells, but a fellow by the name of Mike Oldfield did this. You would probably know the from The Exorcist for anybody. But this album is so much more than that little bit for The Exorcist. Mike Oldfield does not play on this. This is done by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra with a session band, a very talented session band, and a choir for vocals. They do a fantastic version of the Tubular Bells music, and it also features some other Mike Oldfield stuff. So highly recommend if you like that kind of stuff. So with that being said, let me give you my number 1 so we can get us out of here. JD has run off to get his Taylor Swift albums, I think. So this little band from Georgia is where this band's from. I'm about to throw out here. I first came across these guys in 2004, roughly, maybe 2003, 2004, something like that. And I was just blown away by what I heard. And then they would play this little venue in Birmingham, quite often. And we got to know these guys pretty good. And they tell us that they get signed to Solid State Records, which was
I know what
cool.
this is.
Yep, you already know who I'm talking about. I've already talked about these guys a few times with you guys, just in chat. Anyway, so then they tell us the name of what their first album is going to be called. And I'm like, oh, Mortification nod. They're like, yep, I knew you picked that up. So for me and the guy who ran this little venue to get a special thanks in their first album that was called Terminate Damnation was pretty cool for me. I thought that was really special. Johnny Metal got a special thanks on an album, which I thought was really, really cool. These guys were really good hangs. I haven't seen them in about 15 years. But the original singer and drummer reconvened with a guy who had been keeping on the band for the longest time. And I'm talking about you can't see the album, the band cover's name or the band name on this one, but that's the album cover. I'm talking about Becoming the Archetype. This album's called Children of the Great Extinction. I love this band. When these guys were amazing live, they were tight, they were heavy, they just threw all kinds of twists and turns at you. Jason Wisdom and Duckett, the drummer, got back with the guy named Seth, who was a guitar player, keyboard player, does some clean vocals, and the three of them decided to record some new material under the Becoming the Archetype name after Jason Wisdom, the bass player and singer, had been gone for a little while. Absolute brutal album. Absolutely gorgeously brutal. You got The Dead World, which is just a great opening track, Lost Colony, The Remnant, which was actually their band name before the Becoming the Archetype. It ends with a song called The Sacrament. This is just a great, solid album. Jason Wisdom's vocals are just deep, guttural, that Cookie Monster stuff, but it's just so good. Cannot praise these guys enough. So glad to get this on vinyl. I have to admit, and I did get a CD version too, but I do have to show off the kind of show off the kind of splatter vinyl thing they did for the album. It's a 2-album set. The other album is on my turntable at the moment, but Becoming the Archetype, Children of the Great Extinction, that would be that would be what I would probably have picked. Yes, I could have picked Megadeth, I could have picked the Scorpions, I could have picked Ozzy, but I wanted to give my viewers and anybody who watches this some views of some different bands that maybe you might not have heard of. Hey, maybe I might check this out and see what I think. And you might discover something cool. So anybody have any honorable mentions as we wrap this up?
I would like to name one, and it's not an album, it's just a single, and that is My Chemical Romance dropped a single last year called The Foundations of Decay.
Oh yeah.
Not heard any rumors of an album, nothing like that. They just dropped that one single, but it sounded great. It sounded like MCR always has, maybe a little more mature, a little more grown up, but it's dark, it's awesome, and I recommend it.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
I haven't heard it, but I know GNR dropped an EP this year too.
Yeah, they dropped like 3 songs or something.
Something like that.
The hard knock school or something.
Hard
Something like that.
Hard school. That was a really good song.
All right. JD, you got any
I've got a few and a reissue little thing to show off. One of my honorables is Queensryche Digital Noise Alliance.
I've heard a lot of good things about that album.
That's honestly the only Queensryche album I've ever heard.
What?
That's the only one I've ever heard, and I think that
Operation Mindcrime, Race for Order, Empire, The Warning, the EP. Those are the ones you need to get. Although I have compilatory albums are amazing, but you can't go wrong with those early Jeff Tate albums. To me, Jeff Tate and Chris DeGarmo and Todd Rockenfield, the drummer, that was your core Queensryche right there. So
yeah,
I've heard a lot of good things about that album.
It's so good from start to there's a and it ends very strangely. It ends with a cover of Billy Idol's Rebel Yell.
I heard about that,
and it's not bad. It sounds like it's just a little bit of a different orchestration to it and
Yeah.
everything. And but I thought it's it does feel out of place after you done heard like everything that comes before it, and then you just hear that come in, and like every time when I listen to the album and I get to that, like it always comes out of like I know what to expect it, but it always just, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that this is on here.
Okay.
Another pop punk band that I discovered, I think 2020 something. It was during the pandemic, and they're on the UNFD label, and they're called Slowly Slowly, and they had an album called Daisy Chain. And it doesn't sound like your typical pop punk music, though. It sounds more like it sounds more poppy, but it still has some songs on there that's pretty that's that's got like the feel. That was a really good one. That it's pretty short too. It's let's see, it's about, let me look to see, it's like, yeah, it's like 40 minutes, so it's pretty, it's short. Like I said, it doesn't overstay. Like the Final Battle by Striper, I did that one.
Hmm.
I did like that one. Like just like what Ben was saying, like Transgressor, just starting off with that one just right out, just, and the music video too. I love watching the music video to that. I still like watching music videos, and I like that one. And I'm just flipping through my Black Girl Bride dropped an EP that was pretty good. Had I think like 4 little songs on it. Was pretty good. A band that I discovered, that I heard through Sea of Tranquility, called King Buffalo. They're a heavy psychedelic rock band. It's I think they dropped 2 albums last year, and then they did one this year, and it's like it's a trilogy called the Pandemic Trilogy, and
Okay.
this is the one I've heard of it, but it's called Regenerator,
Okay.
and just oh, so it's psychedelic, but it's got like some, it feels like kind of like Sonors, but it's like cranked up a little bit higher, but it's just so
Mhm.
like, oh, it's so good. And and I'm not, that's a genre that I've not really gotten into too much, but I might start looking into it just because of that. um
Okay.
I think that might be it for the honorable mentions, except for the one that I always love to mention, just just to have you guys pick at me because I have to, and then there is a reissue that was given to me as a as a birthday gift from my girlfriend's mom, the
Ooh.
40th
No.
anniversary release of Rush's Moving Pictures on vinyl. They got, there's a bigger deluxe box set, but it's like 200 and something dollars.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with just this right here.
Yeah.
So I now
Something's
own
wrong
this
with that
album.
picture, JD. It's all blurry.
Well, yeah, because they're moving.
It's all blurry.
I still don't
Roger, you
understand
got
why
any?
you don't like Rush.
Yeah. I love it. It's got a, I mean, it's my, and I now own this album twice on vinyl. But the thing that I love the most is the double live album
Mhm.
that comes with it from that tour in '81.
Yeah, I heard that's stellar.
It is what Exit Stage Left should have been.
And at the day we're recording this, it's 3 years.
Yep.
Neil Peart
Mhm.
passed away.
It is.
Oh,
I
we all knew the 2020s were, as Chris Jericho mentioned, we all knew the 2020s was going to be screwed up when Neil Peart passed away. So,
And then
Yeah.
as a little thing,
If he's getting Taylor Swift, I'm going to watch her.
what you got? Oh, okay, there we go. Oh yeah, there we go.
yeah,
Cool.
I saw that it was it's the only Rush Funko that I'm ever gonna get my hands on, because the actual ones you can get, the actual band members are vaulted, and people want 400, 500 bucks for those things on eBay. So
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, this is probably going to be as close to one as I'm going to get. I pre-ordered this months, forgot all about it. And then my phone, I got notification for a charge from Walmart. And I was like, did somebody steal my credit card information again? And I had to like flip through
Again?
back first. Yeah, I mean, I've had my debit card
Uh,
information stolen a couple times.
oh, geez.
So
What have
every-
you bought off of Facebook? Some Taylor Swift
Nothing.
pictures or
No,
shirts? I mean,
no. It's just I just swiping it I think it was somehow they stole it when they
Oh.
hacked Walmart apparently, like a few years
Go
ago.
figure.
Ben knows about it. That was the day my alternator went out, and you and Jason had to go put a new alternator in my car.
Roger, what you got any honorable mentions real quick?
I do, and I won't talk forever. I'm kidding. A Bath Dread Reaver, which is a death metal Motorhead.
Okay.
I am gonna say this, which is gonna shock everyone. Skid Row. The
I've heard some
Gang's
good things
All
about that
Here.
new album.
I've heard a lot about that album.
I've heard a lot of good things about that.
That new singer that'll probably last only this album because they changed
Probably.
singers like clothes sounds just like Sebastian. It is absolutely ridiculous.
Okay.
I'll tell you that one song on was terrible though. Time Bomb,
Hmm.
probably the worst lyrics I've ever heard. Anyway, and my last shout out is a Canadian band, Alexis on Fire. There is no band with 4 different vocalists. It is insane. And the riffs on there are like unique yet creative, yet make no sense, yet they fit perfectly like a piece of like a puzzle. Anyway,
Okay. All right. So just a couple quick little things I'm going to throw out here. So I got to show off. We all know this guy. Most of us all know this guy. E.T. Eric Turner out of Chattanooga, North Georgia, depending on what part he gigs around a lot, just doing acoustic stuff. He put a single out around Christmas time called "Christmas Ain't Christmas Like," or Christmas Ain't Christmas Like It Used to Be," or something like that. And that was a pretty powerful little song. It was a deep song, but good stuff. And he also put an EP out called "Hometown." You can find him on Bandcamp. So I got to give ET a little shout out because I miss watching that guy play, and he's a good guy. So other stuff that I probably would have thrown out there, Steve Vai's "Inviolate." This is a great album. He did like 6 songs from this when I saw him in concert. Very good album. Riot Act, "Closer to the Flame." Now this features Rick, I forget his last name. Rick Ventura used to play in the band Riot from like 78 to 84. So there's this is a 2 CD album with some new tracks, but then there's also a CD of Riot tracks, re-records. They opened up for Raven. Amazing band, really, really good. Highly recommend them. I heard about this band, Images of Eden, a song called, or an album called "Weathered and Torn." I've only listened to this a few times, but I really kind of dig it.
The album artwork.
Yeah, pretty cool band. And lastly, I'm going to give a shout out to a Sea of Tranquility guy, Rick Labonte. You've probably seen him in the Prague Sea. You might have seen him in maybe Hudson Valley Squares a little bit. Maybe it's the Sunday, the homework assignment thing.
Yeah.
He put a CD out called "Living It Up." This is a 2 CD album with 24 tracks. This has all kinds of styles and stuff going on it, and it's solid. This is really, really good. There's a lot. I couldn't even begin to tell you what's like really standout songs for me yet, but give Rick some love. He's a good guy, and he's definitely been doing some good music. So
Yeah, I've heard a couple. I've heard a few of the tracks.
So there you have it. We have we've given you guys about 2 hours worth of 2022 memories and great music here. I hope you all enjoyed the show. Thank you all for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe. This is Johnny Metal, the Metal Dad. That's Roger. That's JD. That's the brothers Carson. I hope you all have a great rest of the night. We will catch you very soon. Peace.